Okay, namaste guys and welcome. I'm Thor Sandalwood. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about Caitlyn Jenner and her run for governor. I've noticed this thing over the last week. I saw it on the news and I kind of thought it was a joke. And then I saw she did an interview with Sean Hannity, and they did it in like an airplane hangar or something like that. And it really started dawning on me that she really is going to run for the governor. And so with this reading today, what I want to do is I'm going to be very neutral. I don't mind if Caitlyn wins the governor, if she doesn't win the governor. What I'm going to do is we're going to do a reading. We're going to look at her chart first, kind of look at her strengths, weaknesses, and then we're going to look at the dasha, the Mahadasha that she is in. And really I'm going to be advising, like if I was talking to Caitlyn and she's asked me, hey, is the karma behind me to run right now? And that's what we're going to do using astrology today. And before we start, let's get a few slides in front of you guys. First of all, I'm going to do a disclaimer. I use the sidereal zodiac, guys, not the Western tropical zodiac. My predictions are mine alone, and the video is for entertainment purposes only. So if you're new to this channel and you guys just first time maybe clicking on an astrology reading, or maybe you know astrology, this is Vedic astrology, and we use the sidereal zodiac, which is usually, a lot of times people, they look up their birthday and they find out what Western sign that they are. Like my Western sign is I'm a Cancer because I was born in June. But if you go and generate my Vedic using the sidereal zodiac, you'll find out I'm actually a Leo ascendant. So a lot of times people will find out that they're either a sign ahead with the sidereal zodiac. And let's switch back real quick. I'm going to show you guys another slide. If you guys really like this content, please help me out. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for more notifications and more readings. And also, guys, share it with your friends because it helps me to grow. I just recently started a Facebook page for my channel. And then also what I want to show you guys is I have a website. And this is if you're interested in getting a reading. And let me switch over to this slide. It's thorsandalwood.com. And we have a special offer for this month of May. If you guys put in my code THOR, Thor, you get 20% off any reading service that you buy on the website. This obviously it helps fund my operation. And also, we're able to spread this light work, this message of astrology, and support light workers like me. And, this is a growing community as we enter into this age of Aquarius. We're really trying to increase the amount of light workers, being in their fields. Some people are psychic, some people are astrologers like me. There's others that practice Reiki. So, this is a wonderful time to be on this planet. Okay, guys, so we're going to look at Caitlyn Jenner's chart. We're going to go right into it. Why don't we? So, Caitlyn Jenner, the birth time is actually AA rated. That means it's actually on it's a birth certificate that people can get access to. So, October 28th, 1949, 6:16 a.m., Mount Kisco, New York, USA. And she's a Libra ascendant. Finding diplomatic and finding a balance. That's a lot of what they are, because they're ruled by the planet Venus. So let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to also put up the chart for you guys. And if you're new to Vedic astrology, the charts look like this. It's not usually the round chart that you see with Western astrology. So right away, guys, we can see, let me pull up my stylus here. She's, Caitlyn's got the Libra ascendant right there. That's going to be the first house. And, in these charts, this is going to be the first house, the second house, the third house right there, the fourth, and so on. And let me clean that up a little bit for you guys. So anyways, you guys notice right away that the sun is in the first house. And usually that is what makes somebody very, very charismatic. So, Caitlyn's she's famous, Um, I didn't even know this, but my dad had told me like, hey, did you know that Caitlyn Jenner was actually, before the whole Kardashian thing, but I never knew that she was once an Olympic athlete and won gold medals, like super mega athlete. And so, already, she's very famous, charisma, all that stuff. The issue with the sun here being in the sign of Libra is the sun is debilitated. And if you guys know what debilitated means, every house, every house belongs, or every sign belongs to a house. So certain planets feel comfortable in certain houses. So the sun would feel very comfortable in its own house of Leo. This is called planetary dignity, by the way. So if the sun's in the sign of Libra, the sun and Venus, they're not really friends. Venus is about relationships, diplomacy. The sun's about, hey, I'm the authority, just listen to me, like top-down management kind of perspective. So that's why the sun's debilitated. And a debilitated sun is going to make Caitlyn somewhat pliable to the opinion of others. She's not going to have like this really kind of machismo, go-getter type. No, I don't care what you think. I'm just doing what I want to do anyways. So she's a people pleaser for sure. That's what sun in the first house in sign of Libra would show. Let me pull up the presentation real fast. Also, we're going to talk about Venus in the second house gives wealth. I put so mistake, guys. She values relationships. Identifies with feminine values. Nice voice, nice face. So we're going to put the chart back up right there. And you guys see right here, maybe I accidentally, but that's the sign of Venus right there. Venus, this is really good for money. But you guys know the second house is not just saved money and income. Second house is also voice, speech. Somebody who, has a very good voice, somebody who's a great singer might have Venus in the second house. Also, second house rules the face, the jawline, the eyes, the teeth. So, it makes somebody attractive in their appearance. Somebody will say, like, if they had Saturn in the second house, usually they have, a very serious looking face. And they usually, with Saturn there, they have problems with their teeth, lots of dental problems with their eyes. But Venus is going to be a good planet there in the second house. And also, it can mean that Caitlyn makes her money through other women or the spouse. And so I know that Caitlyn was married to Kris Kardashian at one point. And I don't know how much money, but, it could be you would get money through the spouse. Especially that it's the 8th lord. So that's pretty interesting there. Let me pull up the presentation really quick. Get the presentation back up. I kind of have a couple numbered slides for you guys. So we talked about sun in the first house is good for charisma, very famous person. However, sun is debilitated in the sign of Libra. And then I already explained that to you guys. That was another aspect, the 11th lord in the first. Friends are very important to the native. So let's take a look at the chart here. So if you notice, the sun is the 11th lord. So here's the 11th house right here. And that's the owner of the sign of Leo. So, that's going to make somebody very, they are all about their friends. Caitlyn's all about the opinions of her friends and so forth. For good or bad, whatever that means. The chart is actually very neutral in a lot of ways. And let's go back to the presentation because we're going to talk about the 4th house there. We're going to be talking about the 4th house, and there's some issues going on, especially with currently Saturn's transit in Capricorn. And in, a little bit forward in this reading, we'll talk about that's actually kind of an issue right now, Saturn's transit over Capricorn. Let me pull the presentation up again, guys. So the next thing we're going to look at, guys, is Jupiter is debilitated in the 4th house of Capricorn. This can cause confusion about purpose and a lack of faith in life. It does form elephant lion yoga, being Jupiter being in the same house as Moon. Moon in 4 shows she feels comfortable at home, comfortable with the homeland. So let's go take a look at that, guys. So we have Jupiter here in the 4th, debilitated. You know, that means there's a lack of faith there. A lot of times sometimes people that have this placement, they tend to not be very religious at all. They kind of like they're not very spiritual people, because Jupiter, even though it does have, it rules Pisces. Pisces is more of that. Pisces I consider more of the spiritual sign, and Sagittarius is more of the religious type of sign. So, but it rules both. So they tend not to be too interested in spiritual things because, it's debilitated. Debilitation, the more like if Jupiter was in its own house of Sagittarius, it would be more awake, what we call. So it can be more asleep, which is debilitated, or more awake, being in its own house, or exaltation sign, which is Cancer for Jupiter. Let's take a look. And then we got Moon here. What I found interesting is with this chart, it shows that Caitlyn is quite comfortable being at home and in the homeland, so to speak. If we look at her chart real quick, if you guys want to look at the 12th house there, you'll notice K2's in the 12th house of Virgo there. So, I mean, as a little aside, this would make somebody not very interested in traveling to foreign countries. Like, she probably doesn't care much about traveling internationally. And she feels comfortable in the homeland, the USA, where she's from. That's what it would tend to do for somebody. So if she had this chart and was saying, hey, should I go start an international business? The answer would be no, you shouldn't. Your chart's not really good for that. So let's take a look at the presentation again, guys. K2 in 12th house, that shows disinterest. Oh, we're going to go to the next slide, huh? Okay, so Rahu in the 6th house, what was the last chart where we had Rahu in the 6th house? Oh, it was Bill Gates. Rahu in 6th house. Interestingly enough, didn't they get, so Caitlyn and Chris were they married and then they got divorced? Because Rahu in the 6th house is the house of divorce. So that could tend to, usually someone with Rahu in the 6th house, if they do get married in a lifetime, it will tend to end in some way in divorce, because Rahu is in the 6th house. And that's the past life desire that's bringing that and manifesting that. Rahu in the 6th house, in the highest form. Oh, let me guys take a drink real quick. In the highest form, Rahu in the 6th house can be really good for service, like service to others, like the type of service that like Mother Teresa would do, Maybe she had planets in the 6th house. But also Rahu in the 6th house could also make somebody like interested in crime. I'm not saying that Caitlyn is doing any of that, but I want to show you that there's different expressions of this Rahu in the 6th house. And let's go back to the slide real quick. 6th house can represent service to others as its highest expression. 11th house, and we're going to talk about the 11th house too. 11th house has Mars and Saturn in it. Mars with Saturn can show someone with amazing endurance. They never quit. Interesting that I guess we could say he, back then, as far as we know, but he won Olympic medals. Was his name Bruce Jenner that time? Okay, you guys have to correct me on that. And I mean no offense to anybody if I'm getting those pronouns wrong. So let's go ahead and go to the chart here. So it's interesting because normally you would think that if you have, Mars and Saturn together, these guys, Mars and Saturn, they don't like each other. They're both malefic, but they're not friends. Like, think about this. Mars is friends with the sun. Saturn is friends with planets like Venus. So they almost belong. Mars and Saturn, it's almost like they belong to two different cliques of friends. So Mars is with the sun. He's a part of the fiery Dharma group. And then Saturn's with Venus, which a lot of people, they think Venus is, yes, he won the decathlon. Absolutely. So let's take a look at, let me go clean this chart up. And so anyways, Mars and Saturn together in there, like, you would think it would be a bad thing, but it's actually a really good thing, because Mars never wants to give up, and Saturn never wants to surrender over to Mars. So they're both, always in competition with each other. And that's why I tend to think Caitlyn was a freaking amazing athlete. Never gives up. I mean, that's the type of person you need to run, to be able to have endurance training like that. And then, so it's just amazing to me. And then, 11th house represents friends. So it could represent that Caitlyn likes very competitive type people as friends, because Mars being there. Also might be friends with a lot of old people, because Saturn rules old people. And then we're going to take a look at, what's interesting about this whole chart when you look at it is, K2's there in the 12th house right there. And then we got Mercury is exalted in the sign of Virgo. So, K2's going to make, K2, guys, is the planet. It's the south node of the moon. And it tends to cut somebody off from the house that it belongs to. So 12th house represents like the astral bridge. It represents the spirit world. It can kind of make somebody like Caitlyn, they're not very attached to the spirit world, to spirit guides. They don't have a lot of access because K2 tends to cut that off. And then K2 being with Mercury there, and we'll go back again. K2 with Mercury also makes, that in past lives, K2 represents what we've done in past lives. In past lives, Caitlyn was a very intelligent person, because Mercury represents the intellect. And I think people are saying in the chat, like, I think she would be a great governor. But, like, with this presentation, it's not necessarily about whether she's going to be a good governor or not, but I will give my predictions, but when we look at the Mahadashas here. So there we go with that. Let me go back to the presentation real quick, guys, and see if there was anything I forgot. Mercury is exalted in 12th house, but is with K2, and in the 12th house, K2 shows being cut off from spiritual guidance. Okay, now this is the question that everybody's wondering now, is, will Caitlyn be the next governor? And you guys, what we need to really look at with this is the Mahadasha. What we really need to look at is Mahadasha and Bhukti. And the Mahadasha in Vedic astrology is going to be what is known as a stage or condition of life. So that's the type of karma that's currently manifesting in your life. So we're going to look at Caitlyn Jenner's. Must check Mahadasha and Bhukti to see if planets support being elected to high office. Entered Mercury Mahadasha May 30th, 2020. Elections supposed to take place in November of 2021. Caitlyn will be in Mercury period. Mercury is in the 12th house with K2, Lord of the 9th and 12th house. So let's take a look at that. And you guys remember this thing is what are known as the dashas. So it's kind of like the stage or condition of life that you're in. Let's take a look. And this is all generated from my Kala astrology software made by Ernst Wilhelm. So right here, guys, you'll see that starting in May of 2020, that's when Caitlyn entered this Mercury period. Well, so we're really looking at like what kind of period is Mercury, or what kind of period is Mercury for Caitlyn. And really, I mean, these dashas, everybody's in a dasha. So from the moment you're born, these planetary periods are running for 120 years, which in the ancient Vedic society they considered, the maximum lifespan of somebody was 120 years. So these dashas go for that long. So what we're really going to look at now is, and if we look at that again too, so we know that the election will take place in May of 2021. So she's still going to be in that Mercury period. She enters Mercury K2 in October of 2022. All right, and let me switch to the slide again, guys. And we're going to switch back to this one. Okay, 9th and 12th. So we're going to take a look at the, gosh, I'm forgetting things now. So guys, if we look, what we're looking at here, what does Mercury rule? So Mercury rules the 9th house. 9th house can represent wisdom. It can represent your father. And then we got 12th house. But 12th house, guys, is, remember, it's one of the, so these houses are going to be activated. These two houses right here when Caitlyn is currently in the Mercury period. And you notice that these two signs are being activated, but it's also activating this K2 right here. And K2 is not really a positive planet to be activating at the moment. So the issue is that, remember there's houses in astrology, the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. These are houses known as evil houses. They tend to cause problems for people. So let's take a look at that again. And we're gonna take a look at why I see there's gonna be some problems. And it's not because there's anything wrong with Caitlyn. It's just that the astrology and the karma is not really at a good place right now. And I'll show you guys. Let's see. Mercury as the 12th lord in the 12th house with K2. Mercury is an important planet for Caitlyn to lose the ego. Losing the ego brings about spiritual gains. However, the 12th house typically brings losses and endings. This is done to help someone in their quest for moksha. And you guys, moksha is just another word for enlightenment. It's just the Indian word for it. Usually we want to see 1st or 10th house involved with being elected to high office. Kendra houses help. And so let me switch over again. So, the 12th house and K2, it's more of a spiritual period that Caitlyn is in right now. Usually when someone's going to win presidency, like when Biden just won it. I mean, even though whether you like him or hate him, he's Rahu in the 10th house. The 10th house is all about career and public visibility. And that's what he was running at the moment when he got elected to president. So I would tend not to think that right now is the best time for Caitlyn to run. Obviously she has her free will and she can run if she wants. But as far as astrology, like if I was her astrologer, I would say, well, you're in this 12th house period of isolation and seeking enlightenment and kind of being away from things. So let's go take a look at the next one, guys. I got another slide for you guys. The next thing we got to talk about, guys, in the chart is Saturn's transit in Capricorn. And if you guys remember, that's been going on since January 23rd, 2020 to April 28th, 2022. Saturn is transiting 4th house of Capricorn. Saturn is in the same house as Caitlyn's moon. This is known as Sati Sati. This is known as Sati Sati. Sati Sati lasts 7.5 years. Begins with Saturn's transit Rashi before moon, Rashi with moon, and then Rashi after the moon. And this is something that's unique to Vedic astrology, not Western astrology, but in India, it's kind of considered like you're in a bad luck period if you're in this Sati Sati, and that's what Caitlyn is in right now. She's actually right in the middle of like the worst part of Sati Sati too as well. Let's take a look at the chart, guys, really quick, and I'm going to clean that up just in a second here. Let's see. Okay, so basically what we got transiting Saturn is in Capricorn, so the actual moving planet's in Capricorn right now. And so when Sati Sati starts when it's in Sagittarius here, which was, 3 or 4 years ago. And then right now it's here, and it's going right over the moon here. And then it's still, when it goes into Aquarius in 2022, she's going to be in Sati Sati. So basically, transiting Saturn is just moving through the signs. It takes 2.5 years to go through the signs, okay? This makes it a total of 7.5 years when Saturn's cruising through those signs like that. So anyways, it's considered a very inauspicious time for somebody, because when somebody's going through this Sati Sati, a lot of times they have people abandon them. It's really a time in your life where you find that you lack support from people emotionally. Like there's not really anybody. Your spouse might turn their back on you. Your friends, your family might turn their back on you in some way. And, with Caitlyn, it's going to be very personal. We're not going to know how this is all playing out. But, it also is a time when you feel very alone. One thing I picked up on is when she was talking to Sean Hannity, where she was like talking about, she was watching something in bed. And I was like thinking like, yeah, that's kind of what somebody would be doing. I could imagine. And with this moon in the 4th house, I can imagine that she's at home a lot, quite a bit. So let me go back to the presentation really fast. The Sati Sati, I don't know if I went to the actual what is it slide. But, what is Sati Sati? This can be experienced as a period of bad luck. The bad luck can appear to be a lack of support from others within the environment. Experienced as a lack of emotional support because Saturn restrains the emotional tides of the moon. Many people fall into despair during Sati Sati. Purpose of Sati Sati is to help native realize validation comes from within. Maybe. One of the things that I think was, and this is something that, people can debate, was this people turning their back on her. I'm been noticing in California politics, the transgender community, I think, is kind of turning their back on her because they view her as a Trump supporter. So even though, she would be you would think a very important spokesperson for transgender movement, you can see that a lot of transgender people turning their back just because of the politics of the whole thing. And so anyways, like I said, guys, the purpose of the Sati Sati is, that somebody goes within and really seeks validation from within themselves. It's so that, you don't try to look for it outside of yourself. You're looking for it within yourself. And guys, then I'm going to go into my prediction. My prediction, some people will like it, some people will hate it. I predict campaigning and finding support in Caitlyn's run for governor will be difficult. Karmic forces are not assisting in this endeavor. Always best to make this move when karmic forces help. If I was Caitlyn's astrologer, I would caution against this run for office at this time. Now, that doesn't mean that she won't be able to run for office in the future. It's just if I was looking at all the planetary periods that are playing out with astrology at the moment, I would say it's not obviously the best time right now. And I would think that a better time for Caitlyn to run would be like during a Venus period, or if I was looking at her chart, I would say maybe a moon period because that represents the 10th house. Maybe a Venus period because that represents the 1st house. Maybe even a Mars period because that's the 7th house. Remember, the Kendra houses are those houses of identity, career, marriage, those houses that really create somebody's identity. So anyways, that's my prediction, guys. Did I put that? I don't think she's going to win it this time. I think that... and I was also watching some news, and they were saying that one of the issues with California is that apparently, like, back when Schwarzenegger, when they did the recall election on Gray Davis, and they had the recall election and Schwarzenegger, when he came in, there was a lot, apparently there was a lot more Republicans in California at the time. And the amount of registered Republicans in 2021 is a lot less now. When would the Venus or Moon period be? That's what Kali Ma is saying. Well, and after 2023, so if there was an election at the end of 2023, then I would think that it would be really in Caitlyn's favor at that moment. But as of right now, I don't think right now, because Caitlyn's going to still be in that Moon period. Mercury period, even in November of 2021. So I just think the 12th house being involved, K2 being involved, Sati with Saturn going over her moon, I think it tends to create a lot of obstacles for her. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat. Does anyone have any questions there? Yeah, I know California is in California is in a mega, it's in a weird place right now. California is in a strange, let's see. It says California is in a strange period. A lot of Republicans left the state too. They did this this census, and I found out that I think California lost a delegate because they actually lost people through this last few years when they did the census. California actually had a net loss of people. So yeah, guys, I tried to make this reading because I've done political readings in the past, and people kind of said I was being biased, somewhat biased, and then I was like, no, I'm going to look at this one, and I'm going to be totally neutral, whether I like Caitlyn, whether I don't like Caitlyn, and I'm just going to do what I see. So, like right now, not a great time. That's what I would just totally say, no matter who was running right now. Now, I know there's this other guy running for governor right now. This guy, I keep seeing his ads on the internet, like the Beast, Beauty or the Beast. So I don't have his information for his birth chart to look at what he's doing. Is there any other questions in the chat? I think I pretty much did my presentation. We're about 30 minutes in now. People are fleeing the state. I think Caitlyn probably won't win, but it would be nice to see her run. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I think a lot of people, the recall, yeah, I forget the other guy's name, the guy with the bear thing. Oh, thank you, Anne. Appreciate that. So I think it's going to be tough going for Caitlyn at this time. And it's kind of weird, because you kind of after seeing her go through these like big changes. I mean, if you think about what she did with even the whole, announcing herself as Caitlyn, it takes a certain amount of bravery to do that. It takes a very brave person to come out and be on magazine covers and announcing that they're, that she's Caitlyn and not, Bruce anymore. So it's pretty crazy, So she's got a lot of courage. I'll give her that. Love your analysis. Thank you. Is Newsom going to win again? I'll have to look at his chart. I mean, you're just asking me as Thor, So, I mean, based on my opinion, I think Newsom's probably going to win again. But I'd have to look at his chart to see, I don't know. I don't know if I have his astrology chart in the database, but I could look at Newsom's again too. And we could see if he looks like he's going to win. I know. So guys, thank you so much for coming in the chat. If you happen to be watching this video, after it's posted, after the live stream, comment down below, give me some comments. Tell me whether you agree with me, maybe you hate it, maybe you don't like it, maybe she's going to win, maybe you disagree. I hope he will not win again. Yeah, a lot of people. There's a lot of people that they weren't too happy with Newsom. Well, guys, thank you so much. I am going to be closing and for you guys, and namaste. Thank you guys for coming to the live chat, and I will see you in the next video. Tomorrow, I'm going to do another live stream at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we're probably going to talk about a cryptocurrency, and I'm going to try to find a birth time on these cryptocurrencies, which has been a little difficult. So guys, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for coming.